Hi everyone, it's Zach with Palantir Research. Busy video today, lots of news and price action. So just looking at the stock first, and I just got to bring it up, but the price action yesterday and after hours was quite volatile, going as high as back to the $20.08, but as low as $19.15. Now, when the pre-market happened this morning, we saw this recovered up again really quickly, right up into the 2020s, and right at opening fly up to the 2040s, but coming right back down to the close of yesterday in the 1980s. And this is all within a few minutes. So it's just a lesson to all that pre and after hours can vary widely from the market's continuation, especially as news comes out, or in this case, treasuries fall in the macro, helping initially, and also Nvidia's spectacular financials from their earnings, but Palantir has had their run up. So the main thing to look out for today is how we hold above or below $20. But with today's closing, the holiday season is truly starting with Thanksgiving tomorrow. Now, onto the news today. The excitement of winning the NHS contract has left some questions for some, so I wanted to ensure we straighten out the facts as well as apologize if I've been operating under the assumption people know these little details, especially as they change over time, when in reality, sometimes I even misspeak myself or misunderstand them. So if you want accurate details on a contract, just go to the source itself. So I wanted to find this on the UK government's contract finder's website. It's very straightforward to find yourself. You can literally just Google UK government contracts and it'll come up. So there are two blatantly tiled NHS Federated Data Platform contracts on here if you use their search function here. And just make sure to use the plus signs. Both are closed and neither of them match the announced details from yesterday, just so you know. So the one published on March 31st, 2022, this has all those descriptions on what those initial FDP use cases will be for, and just details on how they figured out how to even procure for a solution. So the second one is a little bit more familiar here. That was published on January 10, 2023. Now, I know there were many iterations before that news sources bring up, but this is what's on the contract's website. And the description here is showing the widely touted 5-year contract value up to £360 million with the 2-year extension of £120 million to potentially put it up to £480 million over 7 years. Now, the important detail here is that the actual contract value here will depend on the extent of the use of the solution, but note, this one was closed on February 9, 2023. So from what I can see, these cannot be the same contract here that Palantir just won with that £330 million that they've mentioned, as well as the 7-year time frame. Now, we know that this wasn't going to be fully for Palantir here. It was going to be shared, and it looks like it's going to be with a bunch of other people. But in regards to finding the official contract on their website, I'm thinking I just have to keep waiting and looking for this information to come out here until we find something that matches this £330 million. And so as more details are figured out, I'm just going to try to hunt them down, honestly, but really want to make sure I get the numbers straight since the £330 million came out of nowhere, honestly, and the extent of this share is to be seen. Now, in addition, I can't believe I missed this the day of, but Palantir also released a blog post yesterday on the NHS deal and made sure to continue educating the public here, which is vitally important for the continuation of the project. Though I doubt even a tiny sliver of people in the UK will come upon this blog post, but just to show why their data is in good hands, Palantir is a software company that allows organizations to actually get value out of their data, and Palantir isn't a data broker, but is a data processor, and they're not a controller either. So their motivations are to help you be effective with your data and not just gather your data to sell like a social media company to sell ads. And then they got to tout their world leader reputation in data protection, security, and what makes them stand apart with purpose-based access controls, and then closing out on just them being the best and working with the most complex and challenging institutions around the world, and them relying on Palantir's reputation and technology to stay safe and secure. So even though many won't read this, Palantir is trying to slowly get the word out and hopefully some stumble upon this instead of those Peter Thiel kind of articles that go against him, Donald Trump backing stuff. Now, OpenAI, I just want to keep this to one sentence. In less than a week, Sam Altman was fired last Friday, but now has returned back to OpenAI, forcing a new board and a fresh start. So that's quick and easy. Now, Nvidia, they released their earnings yesterday after hours. The big story, honestly, for the whole tech market or just the whole market in general is that their revenues are exploding. Demand is as great as ever, and the results have surpassed analyst expectations for revenue and income. And keep in mind, they did actually go down in after-hours trading a little bit by a percentage point, though they surpassed expectations. The negative impact they called out, though, to look out for next quarter is the export restrictions to China. Of course, they're a huge buyer here, but regardless, this is what's crazy. crazy, they are still confident that this will be offset by their strong growth everywhere else. So the reason I bring this up here, not necessarily directly to Palantir, is that they can be seen as a precursor to artificial intelligence explosion. They do run the stuff that Palantir is designing and implementing around the world here, because you have to compute it. And who provides this? It's Nvidia with their high performance chips. So seeing them continue to grow is a good sign, not only for Palantir, but just in general artificial intelligence as a tide in total. So I'm going to continue to monitor their progress alongside Palantir because of this relation. But do keep in mind, this business is different here. They're growing out so crazily. They have a huge valuation. It just means that we have to be careful here. Just because someone is doing very well, there is still a possible delay in that we see these value and this results coming out for Palantir over time, because we still need to see in their financial metrics the growth that, of course, we'd like to see an Nvidia level growth, but something at least higher than where we're at now in the high teens. But thanks for tuning in to Palantir Daily, and I'll see you in the next one.